acceptance to one's own fault and guilt is, I think, the basic requirement to sustain the social system. Because we all know that we all are social animals, and what is the most needed thing for the social animals to survive is to sustain self-respect in the
Yeah.
society.
How does owning a mistake reshape both the victim's pain and the wrongdoer's growth? Is it somewhere going to help the wrongdoer to grow in his career, in his life, or is it going to help the person who has actually suffered? In what ways they know this is going to be quite helpful for both the people?
One takes this chance of making confession to the other party, to the victim in this case. This is, I think, somewhere making the other party realize that someone is conscious about their existence, which is really important.
Yeah.
Because when we don't come up with these confessions, we continue to disregard the person. And this actually we do to the pitch where we really don't understand them and count them as a part of the society.
The things which are prevalent these days are somewhere now coming from the media, because people are watching things, they're reading, so they learn a lot from there, right? And the people, especially I'm talking about leaders, I'm talking about those influencers, I'm talking about those even the teachers are also kind of figures which people model themselves upon, right? So these people are just like role models, and I think if they are promoting and fostering this kind of culture, so people will be finding it easy to walk this path, because somewhere if the person who they consider to be the role model is also doing the same kind of thing, so they would be feeling pride if they also do the same kind of thing. That's because somewhere they are walking in the footprints of the person they admire, right? Robin, welcome again. And here we are going to talk about the confession, right? Confession, as you know that when somebody has made any mistake, so they find it difficult to confess that. They find it difficult to own up that mistake, because they somewhere think that this is going to, you can say that this is going to deteriorate their reputation, right? This is going to make the people feel that they're weak, and that's why they are confessing their mistakes, and if they're not very courageous enough, or they are not actually they are people are not actually man of their own words, right? Then that's why they are having to confess, because somewhere they are weak, and they are they don't have the kind of reputation they think that they have. And this is something which we're going to talk about. So the topic for discussion today is confession as a catalyst for change. Somewhere when people start confessing their mistakes, this is going to bring some some changes, some big changes. And what kind of changes we can have if people start owning up their mistakes? What I believe is, this is somewhere going to help people develop and transform the personality. This is what my personal perception and observation is. When somebody starts accepting their mistakes, they're somewhere going to transform themselves. This gives them a courage. This gives them some kind of courage that they are not as weak as they think they are, right? So before we start this conversation, I want to say something about it so that people can have the clarity of the topic, and they will be getting something new, and something which they can apply in their lives, and they can see some transformative change in themselves.
Okay, good evening, and good evening to everyone. Acceptance to one's own fault and guilt is, I think, the basic requirement to sustain the social system. Because we all know that we all are social animals, and what is the most needed thing for the social animals to survive is to sustain self-respect in the society. We also know that due to this pervasive inequalities, some people have a lot of power and position in their hands. Moreover, they can have this monopoly that with the use of it, they could really play with the emotions of other, as what we observe these days, right? Now, in a certain circumstances, we often find that there is a certain segment of people who really don't have that much kind of power in which they can claim their rights, in which through which they can claim justice, right? For anything, something wrong has happened to them. Now, in this particular situations, if these people who are the perpetrators, who are the convicted, who are the accused, if come forward, taking a step, right? I mean, out of their own personal volition and making confession to the people to whom they have done any sort of wrong things, I think can make a big difference, not just at the personal level on that person who has faced such a bitter phase in their life, but also transform the person himself who was the accused in this whole case. Why I am saying it, just because of we know that we people often need a certain kind of reassurance, right? And this feeling is the most significant one, because without solace, without self-respect, I think people continue to lose their confidence, especially in this whole lot of populations, right? And once the confidence is lost forever, I think we can say it is overall a compromise with the productivity of that person, right? So one thing which we have to talk about in this entire topic, according to me, is that when we are making confession, especially about our own guilt, about our own personal, wrong doings or deeds which we have done, are we able or enough courageous to make this confession in the public? And if not, then let's try find out what are all these reasons, and are these reasons really, I think, worthy, I mean, for consideration, or we could sideline it and go ahead with this, new cultivation of confession, making confession to the people. This is what I want to say.
And my personal experience is whenever I make any mistake and I find that there is a kind of guilt, my inner conscience doesn't let me feel comfortable with that guilt, right? Somewhere it keeps forcing me. Somewhere I find that it's going heavy on me, right? And it forces me to go and confess the mistakes which I made, because I cannot compromise with my principles. The thing which we have to talk about is, tell me what makes it so hard for people to admit the wrongs, and how does denial fuel this long-term social wound. Generally people find it difficult to accept the wrongs. Somewhere they think that they will be losing the respect in the society.
Right, absolutely right. In fact, social wounds are the common experience for people these days. As we have talked in the previous part of this discussion, is that we all people are somewhere distinguished in their own way of inequalities that we are facing. Some people are wealthy, some people are still, leading with this heavy poverty. So I think people who don't have much, resources available to them, and with this they cannot claim certain rights, certain justice for them. I mean, it is only who has done this wrong has a certain kind of possibility to settle up account here in this case, right? By making this confession. Now, according to this very idea that since we are always talking about making confession and how it could be, I think, serving a long lasting solution to the people. See, there is one thing that, people are, as I told you, social animals. So there is always a threat of personal existence. Let me tell you how. Because we know that the psychology of human is as such that when a person makes a confession, right, that person is often seen with this suspicious eyes. For example, these days, when an accused man turns out to be a convicted, even after he passes the sentence, right, whatsoever has been imposed on him by the judges, after he becomes a completely free from all these kinds of guilt, even then the society keeps treating him with this suspicious mindset. So this very fear is very prevalent among many people. So I think this is one of those reasons that somewhere makes people a little bit withdrawn from making this confession to people, because they believe if they make this confession at this point of time, maybe their reputation is going to be lost forever, and thereafter they will be treated with this with this doubtful manner all the time.
Yes.
In order to avoid it, I think people somewhere, don't take risk, but this is something other part of the discussions, right? Yes.
So they stop, enjoying the kind of respect they used to. They stop enjoying the kind of love people used to, shower on them. And that's why they are always in the fear that if they confess that they are the ones who made the mistakes and who did wrong to somebody, and they'll be losing all those, all that respect and all the love, which they're going to be deprived of all those things.
Right.
And that's why they think it best to not to come up with the guilt, not to come up with the wrongs which they did to the people, right? The next thing which we have to discuss is tell me, how does owning a mistake reshape both the victim's pain and the wrongdoer's growth? Is it somewhere going to help the wrongdoer to grow in his career, in his life, or is it going to help the person who has actually suffered? In what ways this is going to be quite helpful for both the people?
Okay, let's understand this, that first of all, this is a very positive deal between these two. On the one side, we have the perpetrator, one who has committed wrong, and the other side, we have the victim. Now, if one takes this chance of making confession to the other party, to the victim in this case, this is, I think, somewhere making the other party realize that someone is conscious about their existence, which is really important.
Yeah.
Because when we don't come up with these confessions, we continue to disregard the person. And this actually we do to the pitch where we really don't understand them and count them as a part of the society, which is really making someone feel inferior, right? So therefore, I think this is I think very notable. I mean, part of humans, life, that if you have gumption, then it's better you should come out with these confessions, right? One thing which is also, I think, a point of discussion here is that when you make confessions, I mean, to your victim, you are exposing yourself to the public. And how you are being exposed in this, that your lies, your deception, your unworthiness, your wretchedness, all are going to be exposed, right? Before this public domain, right? Therefore, there is a possibility that you might be treated in that way in future. So this makes a little bit a complex experience, especially for the one who has committed wrong, right? Rather than the person who is on the recipient stage, because he is always seeking for certain kind of urgent help. Because everyone needs, according to me, is that justice and the perception of justice. We have this institutional setup for everyone, and this institutional setup is not, I think, a cup of tea for common people. Many people even don't even think of going to the boundaries or to the result of the court for actually acquiring this justice for them. They just can rest everything to the god. So if these people, just because out of these resources or inability for some of the reasons, if the culprit, if the perpetrator has come out and takes the responsibility in their own hands, I think they can really make a big difference in the society. So in this way, they can really multiply the profit at large in the society, because it somewhere makes people interconnected. Don't you think so? Because when people come out with their own, confessions, and honest confessions, by the way, let me make it with more emphasis. I'm not talking about that superficial confession. I'm talking about more honest confession. Honest confession means, because when you realize your honest confession, it means that you are being responsible towards other person, right? So you have now been transformed completely, and thereafter you ensure that yes, other person should also be given equal benefits as you are. As you are considering yourself in the same position, right?
Don't you think that people learn not to own up the mistakes right from the family? Because I've seen this and this many times in the family. Then suppose the father is there at home and somebody else is coming to meet him. So the father doesn't want to meet that person. So what the father says to the kid, that tell uncle that I'm not here, right? So this is how they start
Right.
incorporating these things in their lives, and they also find it difficult to come up
Right,
with their with the wrongs which they've done. It is also kind of wrong thing which we do,
right,
and these things are promoted right from the families,
right,
right?
right.
And this becomes so ingrained
Hmm.
that we find it difficult to get out of it or to
Hmm.
get rid of it, right? The next thing which we have to discuss is, tell me, how can leaders, educators, and media foster a culture where accountability is seen as a strength, because this is also our accountability,
Hmm.
right? That we should be owning up our mistakes if we have done any.
Hmm.
We should be owning up the wrongs which we have done to somebody,
Hmm.
right? And this is somewhere going to make us very strong, right?
Right,
Because only a strong person can confess, because
hmm,
this requires a lot of courage for
right,
you to have. Otherwise, you'll simply be avoiding it because you don't have that much courage. You cannot see the people in the eyes
hmm, right.
because you are not at all courageous.
Hmm.
So tell me, how can what is the role of educators, leaders, and media to foster this kind of culture where people can feel themselves strong if they own up their mistakes and guilt.
I think we are living in a society where we are thoroughly interconnected, right? So we cannot say that we are separated in any way.
Hmm.
So even if we are not having this direct connection, but there is an influence of people on us or my influence on other, right? So everything which is on display, I think is perceivable to all. Now these all actors and all these prominent people and including this media, when endorse and advocate, especially this kind of culture where people should come out and make confessions, especially for their own misdeed to the people, I think they promote a kind of culture which is, I think, the needed one at this point of time. India as a country is still is not having a sufficient amount of resources for meeting up with the coming and the growing needs of the people, right? Even if it is institutional such as judiciary system or administrative, I mean, system for the of the country, we all know that the population is increasing by leaps and bounds, right?
Yeah.
That demands are also at the same time. Now at the same time, if we people just start taking responsibility without having compulsion on us, right? So somewhere it is going to reduce the burden on these kinds of institutions at the same
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So therefore, I think that these, I mean, channels and these, popular, people can really, I mean, assist in this way and can make people, push a bit in the directions, because these days I really, experience people really feel hesitate sometimes. Sometimes they feel threatened.
Yeah.
Sometimes they feel that yes, they might be, I mean, always be treated suspiciously and they will be lost forever as an existence in the society.
Hmm.
So all these things must be dealt carefully and circumspectly. How it can be done when someone whom we call our inspiration, I mean, take certain steps and inspire us to do the same thing, then I think it makes a little bit easy as a step to be taken by people, because we human are often, distinguished by the kind of lifestyle that we live and the thought process we carry, right? What makes a successful person a successful person is that is total, observational skills towards the nature,
Hmm.
right? So when we see our ancestors or when we see our inspirational figures, I mean, lead their lives in this way, and they really don't feel awkward and absurd in making these confessions to the people, then why we should not do the same thing?
Yeah.
Right? So these things, I think, are very important, to be very honest, and I think these media can play a very crucial role in this, teaching us why it is important, and you can do it, I mean, on your own, I mean,
Yeah.
without having a push on you by any outer influence, right?
So most of the things which are prevalent these days are somewhere coming from the media,
Hmm.
because people are watching things, they're reading, so they learn a lot from there, right?
Right.
And the people, especially, I'm talking about leaders, I'm talking about those influencers,
Hmm.
I'm talking about those even the teachers are also
Hmm.
kind of figures which people model themselves upon. right?
Right.
So these people are just like role models, and I think if they are promoting and fostering this kind of culture, so people will be finding it easy
Right.
to walk this path.
Right.
Because somewhere, if the person who they consider to be the role model is also doing the same kind of thing, so they would be feeling pride
Right.
if they also do the same kind of thing.
Right. Right.
That's because somewhere they are walking in the footprints of the person they admire, right? So the next thing which we have to discuss is, and last but not the least, and the point which we have to discuss, it is equally important. And that point is, tell me, can lasting social healing happen without the wrongdoer's acknowledgement of injustice? Is this possible?
Uh, in one word, no, because we are seeking for lasting healing. And until you go with this honest confession, and that to write from your heart, you cannot make people believe that you are with them.
Yeah.
So I think it's absolutely no impossible. Second important thing, that when you say that you are making confession, your saying is not enough.
Yeah.
Until you do with a certain emphasis. And how we could do that? By considering it your responsibility. Now you have to show your responsibility through making people believe that your confession is not just a superficial confession.
Yeah.
It is something which he means, right?
Yes.
And he wants, because you deserve this. So in this way, you make people feel that he is still, existed as a human in the society, and his existence is equally important as mine.
Yeah.
So I think until you make people feel with your confession that whatsoever has been done was purely a wrong deed, and therefore he is the one deserving who needs to be behaved and treated in this way, then I think this could be the right way in order to make the person feel, I think, satisfied and satiated. Because uh, I think in today's culture, people are moving towards this materialistic lifestyle, and this has certainly, drew a big gap between two communities.
Yeah.
One is have and haves not, right? So what is happening between the two is that the one community who is powerfully rich and wealthy has no respect and has no consideration for the lower group, for the group which is deprived of the basic facility. Now, if we people neglect them and keep neglecting these people, then this is a possibility that they might lose everything, right? They might lose this belief of their existence, right? So this way we can really, somewhere disturb and disrupt the social system, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
And in India, it is happening very much. You go to Gurugram, where some brat of rich fathers, and they come on the road taking their expensive vehicles and the cars, and the way they run down poor people and misbehave poor people is, I think, worldly acknowledged, right? And they do it with that gumption that even they don't think of paying any respect or making any confession or feeling sorry for this act. So you cannot really make a powerful and a cultured society until both parties, are fully, ingrained with this idea of self-respect and cooperation. But one who is in the power, I believe, must take this first responsibility. Therefore, he must comes with this honest criticism as a way forward to the person who deserves this.
And you simply want to say that these people, I mean, who are misbehaving, and those who are treating people like this, they are running over the people
Right,
with
right.
the cars, and all. So they know it very well that they have money, they can hire any good lawyer, and the lawyer can take care of
Right,
everything.
right.
So they don't have to be worried about that. They can do whatever they think they can. And the most important thing you said, that only acknowledgement is not enough, right? Your actions speak louder than your words. So you don't have to say but you have to prove it through your
Right.
actions.
Right.
And then only people can believe that yes, you have now come clean.
Right.
And now you say what you no you mean what you say,
Right.
right?
Right.
So this is something which we had to talk about. And this is my own personal belief that if people are owning up their mistakes, I think this can make this world a nice place to live. Because if everybody starts owning up their mistakes, if they have done anything wrong to people and they confess that, then I think we will not be going to courts then, because the person has already accepted or admitted his mistakes. And they will not no longer be doing anything wrong to people, because now they have realized that somewhere they were wrong. And society should also be
Right.
giving them proper space and proper respect once they have come clean.
Mm.
Right. And with this, if they see that they are now being recognized and they are being respected and they're being loved, so this will also create a kind of room in their heart that yes, if I behave the right way, then people will definitely be loving me and
Right.
taking care of me and respecting me. So with this,
One more point I want to add. There is a famous quote: "Not everything that is faced can be changed,
yeah,
but nothing can be changed until it is faced."
yeah,
So, the first effort that we should make is to anyhow make confession, regardless of the consequences it may ensue, right?
yeah.
Because you have done wrong to someone. Now, out of your sense of responsibility, you need to act like it and rest everything to the God. If you do it with honest criticism, so we talked about lasting healing. This lasting healing can be perceived by the one who has faced this wrong happens to him.
So before I wrap it up, I'm reminded of one incident that happened to me in my life, because I also did something wrong and then I had to own that up, right? What happened when my there was going to be a kind of debate, right? And it was my professional training, and there I was supposed to have debate with a lawyer. So actually, I feared, because having debate with a lawyer was going to be quite difficult for me, because they are expert in this particular thing, because this is their job. So what I did, I absented myself from that, and I was sitting there in the garden, thinking that now I will not be able to, no, not I won't have to face that man.
Right.
But those 3 hours I was sitting there in the garden felt very heavy, and I found that I've done something wrong, and I should be going back and accepting my mistakes. And then I went and said that I was absent just because I was a bit scared actually. So I found that the person I was going to have debate with was also absent that day because of some reasons. And the next day the debate was fixed, and it was then a nice experience. So I mean, I could find myself comfortable because I somewhere accepted my mistake, and from that day onwards, I made a promise to myself that I will never ever, lie to anybody, and I will not do anything which makes me feel so guilty, right? And I found that I mean, I started feeling very happy from that day onwards, right? So this is something, this can heal a person, this can transform a person, and this can really make a person very courageous, because somewhere this requires you to be very courageous if you are going to own up your mistakes, right? With this, we are gonna take your leave, and we'll be coming up with some with another video with nice topic, which is going to be very insightful, and which is going to be very full, which is going to be full of knowledge, and people would love to enjoy it, right? They would love to listen to it, and they would really relish on it. With this, I'm taking a leave.
Take care. Bye bye.